She tried to blackmail me into funding her $15,000 facelift by threatening to manipulate my wife. I stayed calm, documented everything, and when Julia saw the proof, she cut her mother off completely. I'm 34M. My wife, Emma, is 32. We've been married for 4 years and together for 6. Honestly, the happiest years of my life, with one major exception, her mother, Diane. Diane is 55 but clings to the idea that she's still the party girl she was at 22. She lives for attention, selfies, validation, and anything that makes her feel younger. For years, she's been floating the idea of cosmetic surgery, facelift, neck lift, brow lift, the works, but never saved for it. Instead, she'd complain loudly at every holiday dinner about how expensive aging was and how children should help their parents maintain dignity. It was annoying, but manageable. Until 4 months ago, Emma and I had just moved into a new townhouse. Nothing crazy, but it was ours. I was finally up for a managerial position. Emma had started a new remote job in UX design. Life felt stable. Then Diane showed up unannounced on a Tuesday afternoon. I knew something was off the second she walked in. She had that overly sweet, customer service smile she uses when she's about to suggest something outrageous. She sat down on our couch, crossed her legs, exhaled dramatically, and said, "So, I found the perfect surgeon. No hello, no small talk." She slid a glossy brochure across the coffee table. $14,870 for a full rejuvenation package. Financing available. Not that she intended to finance anything. I kept my voice polite. "Looks thorough, but that's not really something we can help with." She didn't blink. "You're paying." Just like that. As if she were informing me of the weather. I actually laughed for a second because it was so absurd. But she leaned forward, voice low. "If you don't help me, I'll make things very difficult for you. I will make sure Emma sees what I've seen. The things you hide." I had no idea what she meant. I don't hide anything. My life is painfully boring. Work, gym, cooking, watching documentaries until I fall asleep on the couch. There was nothing she could possibly expose. So I asked, "What things?" She waved a hand, dismissive. "I'll figure something out. Wives listen to mothers." My stomach dropped in that way it does when someone crosses from annoying to dangerous. She wasn't bargaining. She was threatening. Then she added, like she was offering me a discount on a used car, "You have 1 week to transfer the money. Don't make me choose sides." And she walked out. I sat there for a full minute, just trying to process the audacity. Then I remembered something important. I have a home security system. With sound. The entire conversation had been recorded, clear as day. I didn't tell Emma that night. She was exhausted from meetings, and I didn't want to drop a bomb on her when she was barely functioning. I wanted to think, to process, to figure out the least traumatic way to handle this without blowing up their relationship unnecessarily. But the next morning, I woke up to 3 missed calls and a text from Diane. "Have you made a decision?" Before I could even reply, she sent another. "If you force me to, I will tell her things she won't forget." I screenshotted everything. My hands were shaking, not with fear, but with disbelief. How do you even begin to deal with a person who thinks extortion is a normal parental request? I didn't answer. I needed a plan first. Over the next few days, Diane kept pushing texts, voicemails, guilt trips, veiled threats, fake "I'm worried for Emma" messages. Everything short of outright, "Pay me or else." But the implication was always crystal clear. I finally hit my limit when she sent this. "If you don't pay, I'll make sure she knows what kind of man you really are." I sat there in my car during lunch break, reading that message over and over. And then I realized something. There was nothing to fear, because everything she said was already documented by her. So I wrote back, "Do what you need to do. No anger. No fear. Just calm." Then I drove home early. Emma was sitting at the kitchen table, working on wireframes. She looked up, surprised. "You're home early." I sat across from her, opened the home security app, found the recording, hit play, and slid my phone to her. She listened silently. Then she listened again. And again. Her hands started shaking. She put her face in them and whispered, "She did not say that to you. She did not threaten you like that." I told her everything. The messages, the pressure, the extortion attempt. Emma didn't yell. She didn't cry. She didn't even look angry. She looked done. Completely done in a way I had never seen before. She said quietly, "She's not going to talk to me again. Not after this." I didn't know what she meant yet. But the next morning, Emma left the house early, earlier than she ever does. When she came back, she looked drained but resolute. She handed me her phone. Blocked. Everywhere. Her mother was gone from her life. And that was only the beginning. Because the next day, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. The next morning, my phone started buzzing at 7:14 a.m. At first, I thought it was spam. Then it buzzed again. And again. 7 missed calls within 10 minutes. All from an unknown number with Diane's area code. I let it ring. At 7:22, a voicemail popped up. I still remember the first few seconds because it was so strange. Her voice was shaky, not angry, not threatening, but almost panicked. Hi, this is Diane. Please pick up. There's been a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. The word tasted like battery acid. She called another 5 times. Then, please tell Emma to call me. I just need to talk to her. I didn't respond. At 8:03 a.m., another voicemail. Why am I blocked? Why would she block me? What did you do? That one had some venom in it. Her panic was turning into accusation, like I'd manipulated her daughter instead of simply showing Emma the evidence. By 9 a.m., she switched strategies again. Sweetheart, I didn't mean what I said. It was a joke. A mother's joke. You know how I am. This woman had tried to extort me 2 days earlier, and now she was acting like we were inside some sitcom storyline. Around noon, the calls finally stopped. Not because she calmed down. She had found another target. Emma. Emma had gone to work at a co-working space that day. I didn't want to bombard her with updates, but I checked in just to make sure she was okay. She wasn't. She sent me a screenshot. 17 missed calls from her mom. For voicemails. 11 texts. Most weren't even coherent. It was like Diane was cycling through all 5 stages of grief in real time. Anger, bargaining, denial, blame, desperation, repeat. Then came the grand finale. A text so perfectly self-incriminating I saved it in 3 different places. If you cut me off over this, then he has turned you against your own family. He's manipulative. He's controlling you. You're ruining everything for a surgery that would have made me feel better, as your mother. This woman actually admitted the reason she was spiraling was because Emma wasn't letting her extort me for cosmetic work. Emma didn't reply. She just screenshotted everything and forwarded it to me with a message. I can't do this anymore. I'm done. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't emotional. It was the quiet resignation of someone who had hit the absolute ceiling of tolerance after a lifetime of boundary violations. I called her immediately. She picked up on the first ring. Her voice was steady, but I could tell she was fighting tears. I knew she could be selfish, she said. I just never thought she'd threaten my husband. That's a line I can't pretend she didn't cross. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about the surgery, or the threats, or the blackmail attempts. This was the moment she realized her mother wasn't going to stop until Emma had nothing left. Not a marriage. Not peace. Not autonomy. Emma went quiet for a second and then said something I'll never forget. If she wants to play victim, let her. I'm tired of covering for her. That was the real break. Not anger, not revenge. Just exhaustion and clarity. At 6 p.m., Diane finally called my phone one last time. This time, I answered. She didn't even say hello. Put my daughter on the phone. Her voice was raw, like she'd been screaming for hours. I stayed calm. Emma doesn't want to talk right now. Because of you. I know what you're doing. You're turning her against me. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't insult her. Didn't threaten back. I simply said, I didn't turn her against you. You handed her all the reasons yourself. Silence. A long, stunned silence. Then she hissed, you're going to regret this. And she hung up. I thought that was the end. It wasn't. Because the next morning, someone unexpected knocked at our door. Someone who would change everything about how the situation unfolded. Update. That IT was 8:12 a.m. when the doorbell rang. Loud, impatient, the kind of ringing someone uses when they're either desperate or angry. Emma was still getting ready upstairs, so I went to the door. I didn't expect him. Diane's ex-husband. Emma's father, Mark. A man who usually avoided conflict like it was radiation. He stood there on our porch in a worn leather jacket, looking 10 years older than when I last saw him. He gave me this exhausted half-smile, the kind you give a nurse before bad medical news. Can I come in? He asked quietly. I stepped aside, and he walked in like a man entering a confession booth. We sat at the table. He didn't accept coffee. He didn't accept water. He just folded his hands and exhaled. I'm sorry, he said. Those were the first words out of his mouth. I blinked. For what? For all of this. For her. He rubbed his forehead. I didn't know it got this bad. I didn't speak. I let him keep going. Apparently, Diane had called him the night before in full meltdown mode, screaming, crying, playing victim, insisting I was manipulating Emma and tearing the family apart. Mark said she was so frantic he could barely understand her. So I drove over there, he said, to check on her. And that's when she told me everything. He paused. And I mean everything. Her side, of course, the surgery demand, the ungrateful daughter, the brainwashed son-in-law. But then Mark, with decades of experience surviving this woman, asked the one question Diane never expects. What exactly did you say to him? He said. Diane froze immediately, stumbled, then tried to half confess, half minimize. I just suggested, no, not suggested. I reminded him that I could share things Emma would want to know. But it was just emotional talk. He knows how I get. Mark told me he just sat there for a long moment, staring at her, realizing this wasn't just her usual dramatics. This was extortion. He said, Diane, did you extort our daughter's husband for $15,000? And she snapped back. I didn't extort him. I gave him options. That was the moment he got in his car and drove straight to us. But that wasn't why he came. He leaned forward. There's something you need to know, he said quietly. And Emma needs to hear it too. You're not the first person she's done this to. You're just the first one who didn't cave. And then he told me a story I'm still processing. Years before Emma and I met, Diane had tried a similar stunt on her own sister. Guilt her into paying thousands for some medical emergency that wasn't real. When the aunt refused, Diane told the entire family that her sister was abandoning her in a crisis. The family believed her. Relationships were ruined for years. She had also pulled financial manipulation on an old boyfriend, years before she met Mark. And even once on Mark himself. This is her pattern, he said. She escalates. She threatens. Then she breaks whatever she can't control. Just then, Emma came downstairs, still tying her hair. The second she saw her father, she stopped in the doorway. He stood up slowly. They looked at each other for a moment. Not tense, but heavy. Then she walked over and hugged him. And he hugged her so hard it looked like he was afraid she'd vanish. She whispered, I can't believe she did this. He whispered back, I'm sorry I didn't stop it sooner. They sat down, and he told her everything he'd told me. She cried. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet tears sliding down her cheeks. The kind that had been building for years. Then Mark pulled an envelope out of his jacket. He slid it across the table. Here, he said, just in case. Inside was a notarized statement describing exactly what Diane had said to him. An acknowledgement that she had attempted to extort me, knowingly, intentionally, using family leverage. I stared at it. Emma stared at it. He said, I don't want this to come to that. But I know her. She won't stop. And if she tries to spin a story or accuse you of anything, you need protection. He paused. Both of you. Emma nodded, eyes puffy but steady. Then he added a sentence that hit me like a punch. She's already telling relatives that you bullied her. You need documentation. So yeah, he wasn't exaggerating. Because 3 hours later, it started. My phone lit up again. But this time, not with calls from Diane. It was countless messages from mutual family contacts, cousins, even co-workers who somehow got pulled in, all repeating versions of, why is your wife not speaking to her mother? What's going on? Diane says you threatened her. She said you're financially controlling Emma. She says you're isolating her from her family. And that's when I realized Diane had truly gone scorched earth, and she was framing me as the villain. I had proof. I had recordings. I had her own messages. And now we had Mark's sworn statement. But damage to reputation spreads faster than truth. This wasn't just family drama anymore. This was becoming a full-on smear campaign. And we had to decide, quickly, how to respond. Because if Diane wanted a war, she was about to find out what actual boundaries look like. Final update, WY the next morning. The situation had blown up so far beyond family conflict that Emma and I had no choice but to confront it head-on. Her mother wasn't just gossiping. She was actively trying to rewrite reality. Financial abuse, isolation, threatening behavior. She's scared of him. She painted me like some controlling psycho straight out of a bad Netflix thriller, and she was telling anyone who would listen. Friends, extended relatives, even Emma's co-workers. By noon, Emma slammed her phone down so hard it rattled the table. I'm done. Her voice wasn't angry. It was tired. Completely empty. She called her mother. And shockingly, Diane picked up on the first ring. Her voice was syrupy sweet, the way people sound when they're trying to act innocent and failing miserably. Sweetheart, I'm so glad you called. I've been so worried about you. Emma cut her off. Stop lying about my husband. Instant ice. What lies? Her mother hissed. The ones you told everyone. The ones you told Dad. The ones you told half the family. Silence. Then Diane tried the most predictable tactic on earth. You're being manipulated. He turned you against your own mother. No, Emma said. You did that yourself. Diane started spiraling. Fast. I was just upset. You should respect me. I was overwhelmed. You owe me as my daughter. You're choosing him over family. Then, the final blow. If you don't apologize to me right now, you're not welcome at my house ever again. Emma didn't miss a beat. Okay, just that. Calm. Final. Clean. Diane froze. You think you can just cut me off? I'm your mother. Emma took a deep breath, looked at me, squeezed my hand, and said, You used threats to get money out of my husband. You tried to control me. You tried to smear his name. And you've been doing this to people for years. I see it now. And I'm done. Then she hung up. No screaming. No tears. No drama. Just done. 3 hours later, a message came through from an unknown number. It was her aunt, the one Diane had manipulated years ago. She wrote, Emma, thank you. You're the first one who ever stood up to her. We weren't expecting that. Then another relative messaged me privately. For what it's worth, we never believed her story. Glad you both set the record straight. Turns out, people were catching on faster than we thought. Diane's version of events had too many contradictions, too many emotional leaps, too much desperation. And once Emma's father quietly told a few key relatives that he'd provided a sworn statement confirming what Diane had said, her entire campaign collapsed like wet cardboard. Nobody wanted to be aligned with her anymore. She tried to save face, posting vague Facebook quotes about being betrayed by those you love and ungrateful children. But it got zero traction. The woman who tried to bully, extort, manipulate, and threaten her way into $15,000 ended up isolated by her own behavior. Last seen, for closure. A week later, Mark invited us over for dinner. When we arrived, he hugged Emma like a father who had finally been given a second chance. Then he shook my hand and said quietly, Thank you for protecting her. And thank you for not giving in to her mother. Before we left, he added, If Diane tries anything else, I'll handle it. You too deserve peace. And honestly, we finally had it. No more manipulation. No more chaos. No more walking on eggshells. Just Emma and me, building our own life, our own boundaries, our own sanity. Diane thought she could threaten her way into control. Instead, she lost the one thing she valued most: access. And that, weirdly enough, was the first time Emma ever truly felt free.